Thank you all for joining today. A lot of people in the Falco community have been super busy with the upcoming 035 release work, which is going to go out in a matter of days. So there's that. In terms of supply chain security, of course, we all know that it's going to be signed. So I'm very happy about that. In 035, we're going to have the signature, and I also have the PR, the code for the website update ready. Thank you so much, Max, for updating that. Hey, hello. So in terms of updates, I think I'd like to share a couple of things. Of course, we're going to have a signed release in 035. Then I would be happy if Max could talk a little bit about the work that he's doing to support signatures in both rules and plugins. And he started with the rules, and I think what he did was awesome. So if you can share with it, and then later in the agenda, I would add my notes on what I would be happy if we could do for the month of June, if you're good with that. And of course, feel free to add items and to ask questions on that.
Yeah, I work a bit about designing for the rules. So the first thing that we discussed also in the previous meeting, that is the command line that is used right now to publish and also build the OCI artifact for the rules. Didn't return the image digest, so I add right now in open status the pull request is, and just simply return the digest for the image that is built, and then the CI is going to be updated with the cosign commands to create the OCI artifact with the signature, taking the artifact. And pretty simple. And instead, about the plugins, the work is to be started right now. I did nothing, but if I'm correct, the plugins command that build and publish the plugins artifacts is building and is responsible to build multiple artifacts, so it should return multiple digests. But I think it should be pretty simple, I'd say. Maybe we can codify in a JSON format or something like that, and expand that, parse it, and pass it to the cosign command. I can share the links to the PRs that I opened.
I'm already adding those to the document.
Oh, great, thank you.
So my comment on this is thank you so much. This is awesome. And since now we are in the middle of a release, I did not merge the changes yet because we'll have to run the release CI for the rules like on Monday for the Falco release. But as soon as the release is done, I would like to merge this change. And also I offered myself, but anyone, if you want to join and you're interested, please reach out. We're here. I offered to pair program a little bit with Max so that we can complete the two remaining items that he just talked about. So having the CI merged for release, and the second part is that doing the same for plugins. So I think this is something that we can do pretty quickly after release, so that we can have immediately the whole pipeline working, and so we can test it. We have time to test it to make sure everything works. On this note, I spoke recently with Aldo, saying that at some point, those two tools that are working for the two CIs for rules and plugins will probably need to be merged because they do pretty much the same thing in two different ways. And historically, where the history is the last year or so, we have changed a lot in both those repos, and now they behave in a very similar way. So at the end, we're going to have one tool that is able to output digests in a consistent way. So yes, we can work on both things, and awesome work really for this part. Thomas?
I have some concern about what Maximiliano is doing. Not what he's doing exactly, because it's great, but right now I'm writing a blog post to help people to distribute their own plugin. Basically, how to build the plugin, to push it into GitHub packages. It works quite well right now, except for ARM64, but it's another topic. And I'm wondering if people would like to integrate cosine in that workflow. Right now, the workflow we are dealing with is pretty much really specific to our rules and plugins repositories. We are not using common tools. We develop a registry in Golang, a registry command in Golang. It's really specific to our use case and our workflow. And so, do you think it could be possible to have something like we have with Falco CTL to allow anyone to reproduce these steps for its own plugins and rules? Right now, I'm using Falco CTL to push the OCR artifacts with the manifest, with everything is completed. So this is just a question because it's really, right now we have a gap.
I'll stop you right there. I love this kind of questions because I already know the answer, and the answer is, of course, yes. And I can share my screen. I think I can share my screen, which window, if I can find it.
Yeah, also because when I first tested the pipeline, I did that with Falco CTL at first. And then when I opened the PR, I just adapted it to the rules command line, which is integrated in the repository.
So if this is an example, and I have this for my repo, and also Max can share his own repo, and you just need to add this. Like literally, you can get the artifact output from Falco CTL. So yeah, it uses grep. It's okay. I understand it's not the best, but still, Falco CTL already tells you the hash of the artifact that it's outputting, including for plugins, for rules, for whatever. And then you literally just need to add the cosine step as if it was any container image, and you get the signature. You can add like a short paragraph to your blog post, and you're done.
Okay. I did not know we are able to get the digest with Falco CTL directly.
Yeah. Yep. And
right now, there's a lot of black magic in Falco CTL, to be honest. A lot of things are not documented, and I had to reverse engineer a lot of things to be able to run it for plugins.
Yeah, it would be probably awesome if you could add a bit, if you could help us add a bit of documentation there, because Falco CTL is very cool. I think it makes coffee as well if you want to, but there are some features that, as you said, are a bit still black magic-y. So I will share with you my example that I'm showing on the screen, but if Max had an example as well, maybe it's already in the document though.
Okay, I would like your examples, and I will reproduce that in my own Docker plugin repo.
Max Joe.
Yeah, also Bato is saying that if you are using cosine version 2, you can skip the experimental environment variable, experimental mode. I guess that experimental mode enable the OCI artifact specification format, but I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure. Maybe you have the answer, Batu. Anyway.
Yeah, Massimo. I think the idea was using the cosine experimental flag was the components you activate the keyless signing, record, Fusio, these kind of projects was an experimental stage at that times in cosine V1, sorry. In V2, they both, these projects both become GA recently. So yeah, you can remove this environment variable if you are using cosine V2.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, so that's really easy to do, I think. And if you have problems, of course, reach out to us. But should be really straightforward. That's the beauty of it. And then we have an entry from our own developer guy, who is asking something about the co-integration that he proposed. So do you have any updates that you want to share, or is that just a question about?
Yeah. That's just the question. So I really like to integrate the Falco CTL with co, because I believe we don't have any specific reason to use Docker file for Falco CTL, because one thing that I wanted to use Docker file for Falco CTL is using the cache or some other features that build kits provide for us. For example, parallel builds, some performance issues, something like that. So as I saw the Docker file is pretty easy for Falco CTL, so we don't need to use Docker file for Falco CTL, I guess, because it brings some slowness to our builds. So we need to set Docker daemon, for example. So I think we don't need to use Docker for Falco CTL in our builds. So we can easily integrate core. So it also does not have some complex release workflow, right? So we can easily switch it to core from Docker.
Yeah, so I agree, absolutely. So we discussed it. I wasn't sure. Then I asked other maintainers and other people that have worked on Falco CTL, and the verdict is that it would be cool. So please go ahead, as long as the workflow, just the last thing you mentioned, as long as the workflow and the release and development workflow aren't impacted, like they don't add complexity to these workflows. And I know that you're an expert in both Go Releaser and Co. And we use Go Releaser already. So if you can take a stab at Co, and so you can open a PR, and remember that as far as I'm concerned, I'm happy with it, but there's more people that work on Falco CTL. So add the positive sides to the PR that you are going to make, saying, hey, this is going to add this and that, and the release work and development workflow that you can try by looking at the README will not change, and people will be happy with it. So go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Luca. One great news is that Go Releaser can now use core in their image builds. Do you know about that? You can use core in Go Releaser.
I didn't know, and if this simplifies the workflow, like it doesn't make it more complex, it even simplifies it, I think nobody would have anything to say about it.
Just let me share some. Also, you can use cosine in Go Releaser to sign your image builds that you build with core. You just need to use Go Releaser, then the integrations with core and cosine, it will be a complete solution. It provides a complete solution, because the only thing that you need to do is configure your Go Releaser configuration file, then everything is going to be working. So recently there was no support for the image builds that you do with Co in Go Releaser, but now there should be a feature provided in the newest Go Releaser versions. Now you can use cosign to sign your images built with Co by using Go Releaser. Yeah, everything all in one solution.
I think that's really cool. And also by looking at the notes, I remember that I had a problem, like a question that was like, do we need the shell within the container? And I don't think we do, because the Falco scale container doesn't have a shell right now. So I think we're good with that. Like if I do a docker for Falco security, Falco CTL latest, and docker run FIT.
And here is the PR that I am sending to you. This yeah Massimiliano, yeah, exactly. This PR is going to provide this feature. Now you can be able to use sign option with COS. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it does have an SH, but I don't think it's used. The SH is used anywhere in the image. So I think this one should work. Code generated manifest to the artifact list. This way they can be signed later. Okay, so I think you can go ahead and propose it. And of course, we need to make sure that the workflow works fine, and also that the local development isn't also impacted, because people want to first develop stuff locally and then send it to the pipeline. But if this, especially if this simplifies the pipeline, I'm happier with that. Lately, I have released Falco SQL, and I noticed that the pipeline was a bit more complex than I expected. So as long as we can make it better, I'm very happy.
Yeah, I will share my ideas through the issue. I will comment all the ideas and we can discuss it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
I will tag other people that work on Falco SQL. It's a nice way. Very, very cool. And also, now for the agenda, if there's no other points, I would like to share what I would expect to happen in the month of June for the supply chain security. So I think there's still 3 points that we need to address. And the first two we already discussed, that's the signatures for plugins and rules. And the only remaining one, I believe, would be the verification of the signatures for plugin and rules. So I wanted to discuss my idea with you and see if it makes sense. And I would like to implement it this month within the month of June to have it up and running. So I think since in order to verify the signatures, basically you need two things. You need the issuer, the certificate issuer, and the subject. That is essentially the Git repo that originated the signatures. I would propose to add these two pieces of information to the index file that is used by Falco SQL. You know that Falco SQL has an advanced mode of operation where it reads an index file instead of reading a repository directly, and that one contains a bunch of metadata about the artifacts. I will actually share my screen to have you see, so that you can see it. There we go. Okay, so we have the index file. So I think this one is an example one that I had. I had an example one that actually, let's take a look at the Falco security, Falco SQL official one. So that I have a branch here, and this is the index file. So the index file is just for advanced use. and it contains the metadata about the repos. If you want, you can have a simple OCI repo and it would work. But if you want to add tags, keywords, the home pages, names, and so forth, you use an index file. So what I was thinking is to add the signature information to this file, so that this goes actually out of band compared to the actual packages, because the packages are published on the container repo, while this one is published on a specific GitHub page, or if you have your own repository, you can publish your own, maybe on a different site, on a static website, wherever you want. And here to add a little section that is like cosign, signature, cosign, and in the cosign part, I would like to add just the two, the issuer and the certificate and the subject, even with a regexp if needed, so that basically, if this section is present, modify Falco CTL, so when it pulls from an index with an index file that specifies that the signature is enforced, when it goes to download, it will check the signature, and if the signature doesn't match, it won't pull the artifact. This would be super transparent for everyone, because it means that if something bad happens, simply Falco CTL, for example, if you have automatic updates enabled, and Falco CTL will not be able to update your rules because the signature doesn't match, it will simply not update anymore. So if your supply chain is compromised, all the Falco CTLs that are taking updates will simply stay with the previous version and not try to update anything. And in the meantime, so to prevent unsigned stuff or stuff with the wrong signature from getting to the users. What do you think about the idea? Is that something you would see happening? Because I think it's the easiest solution. Maybe it's not corner cases, but any thoughts?
So the index file should be by default the one that is distributed by Falco, right? So the official one is the one that indexes all the plugins and all the artifacts. So the repository database.
Yeah, the way it works is that there is an official Falco one, but you can register as many index files as you want. So if you want to distribute your own stuff in your own repo, you create your own index, and of course, you configure Falco CTL to read your index.
I think that it makes sense. For me, I like it. And at the same time, the user can obviously override and take his own databases, but it's its own choice, and you can also skip the verification as you like you do for package repositories in your Linux distribution. So you can skip if you want verification, but
yeah,
officially is that it works and it's secure. So personally, I like it.
Thank you so much, because this is something, and of course, if we want to, even if you have time to do even pair programming, if someone has time, I would be happy to do it. I have the idea in my mind, and also we've got, and I can go and take this task to implement. But we've got also the experts from Falco CTL, that would be Aldo and Lorenzo, that will help us review and get the code up to the latest, get the code clean and all these good things. So thanks for this. And the only other thing that I think might be missing from here is to survey all the other repos and see if we are missing signatures for stuff. I made sure that we have signatures for everything that we have in Falco, in the Falco security organization that is released with Falco. So meaning Falco CTL, and I don't think we have signatures for the charts, but I'm not sure if you can have signatures for the charts. But all the images of Falco and Falco CTL for all architectures are now signed. So that's cool, but I think we should just review all the other things that we distribute and add signatures where it's missing. And then after this is done, we can think about the next steps even further in the future. That would be thinking about drivers, the base images, which we also have an exciting conversation about, because people from ChainGuard have contributed the lightweight base image, and we just need to discuss it in the community. If we want Falco 036, that would be the next one, to have that Wolfie-based image. I would be happy, but there are other reasons why some people might not be happy. So I think that's something that we'll have to discuss, and then that's it. That's it.
Luca, maybe we can organize a workshop that we introduce an APQ avalanche and how ChainGuard builds these ChainGuard images. So I know some about these tools, APQ avalanche. Maybe we can make some demo and show how can we use APQ avalanche in our projects, maybe.
Cool. Thanks. I will write it down, because it's interesting. The people from ChainGuard have contributed this image, and so it would be nice to understand how they work and what benefits they bring. I think in terms of benefits, the number one that I see is the fact that we don't have to chase the latest vulnerability that is in the Debian base image that is pretty much a false positive, because we use very little out of the basic Debian image that we have right now. We use just the libc and libc++ shared objects, but software composition analysis will alert on everything. But I think it's a great idea to get people, yourself and people that have worked with ChainGuard to talk about it. Also, speaking of that, shameless plug, I will be speaking with a person from ChainGuard that besides Las Vegas. I'm very happy. There's August, and so about these topics: supply chain security, software composition analysis, SBOMs, and all this stuff. Sorry, I never know how to write your names. I always write.
No problem. You can just call me Batu. Batu is my short name in Turkey. Batu, just Batu.
Okay. Is there anything else that you wish to discuss today?
Maybe we can write the co-integration as a next step, as a further steps, maybe.
Co-integration, sure. Absolutely. In which case, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for making the Falco supply chain more secure. And see you in 2 weeks, but still we'll write on the channel. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.